Hello, student, and the concerned teachers present in the class. Good morning, everyone. This is Bijay Sankar Sahu. Welcome to everyone. This live class from Virtual Studio, District Education Office, Sundargarh. Dear student, we have learned a very interesting story from our non-detailed part. That is the first step. We have already completed the part 1 and part 2 of that particular lesson. Today, dear student, I am with the part 3 of that lesson and we will explore what happened to the next with Amu, whether she can able to learn, whether she can able to fulfill her dreams to get education or not, we are going to explore today. So, without much wasting our time, let's proceed towards the smart board and let's explore the today's topic. Let's proceed, dear student. Okay, dear student, so we are going to recapitulate the concept that we have discussed in our last class. So we have learned the part 2 of this particular story in our last class. Little bit we will recapitulate. The summary of that particular part you can able to see here. Chalappa's new owner arrived to the big house. And we also came to know whose name was Mrs. Mohan. She was a slim, grey-haired lady who was also a widow. Widow means vidhava. Mrs. Mohan was an educated woman and very polite in nature. The way she dealt with Amu, that reflects that she is very polite. Chelappa introduced his daughter, Amu, with the new owner. Mrs. Mohan offered tea to Amu before cleaning the house. Amu was very much attracted by the bookcase which was in the drawing room. So these things we have discussed. Amu's attending school was restrained by her father. But Mrs. Mohan came to know all about it and Amu's desire to study. So dear student, in our last class we came to know about the desire of Amu towards education, towards to have education, that also known by Mrs. Mohan. So what the step that she has taken to provide education to Amu, we will explore today. So let's proceed towards the part 3 of this particular lesson. Dear student, the part 3 of this particular lesson start with the sentence, Mrs. Mohan realized that she had to get through to Amu somehow. Dear student, here there is a phrasal verb you can find here. There is a very interesting phrasal verb find here. Here you can find get through. Okay, this particular get through. In class 10, whenever you'll be in class 10, you are going to learn a chapter that is phrasal verb in grammar portion. So phrasal verbs are the more than 2 words we can find over there, which may be preposition, which may be particularly verb and preposition, article and preposition. So this particular type of verb reflects a different meaning. Get through, that provide us a meaning that is to make someone to understand something. Okay, to make someone understand something. Okay, so whenever you are eligible to making understood a particular thing, so that is called as get through. माने तमे गोटे जिनस जन को बुझेबारे सक्षम होच, सफल होच, ताको हमें get through बोली कहिबा. So this is a phrasal verb, dear student. Mark it, and its meaning you can write बुझेबारे सफल होबा. So dear student, let's explore. Mrs. Mohan realized that she had to get through to Amu somehow. Perhaps she could start a small school for unfortunate girls like Amu. She mused. Then the big house would resound with children's laughter. Dear student, in this part, what we are going to learn. So Mrs. Mohan realized that she had to get through to Amu somehow. It means Amu को जेकोनसी प्रकारे ताकू बुझेबारे से सक्षम हेले. तो से रियलाइज कले, मिसेस मोहन रियलाइज कले जे अमु को से बुझेया को पड़िबो, अमु को से बुझेबे जेमति हेले जे ताकू स्कूल को जीवा को हबो, ताकू पाठ पढ़िया को हबो, बिकॉज नाउ इट इज गर्ल्स आल्सो शुड गेट एजुकेशन. एहा कहार हृदयंगम हेला, एटा मिसेस मोहन कर माइंड रे हृदयंगम हेला एवं से रियलाइज कले दैट सी हैड टू गेट थ्रू टू अमु समहाउ. अमु को जेकोनसी प्रकारे तांकू बुझेया को हबो.
Perhaps she could start a small school for unfortunate girls like ଏବଂ ସେ ଭାବିବାକୁ ବସିଲି perhaps ମାନେ ବୋଧ ହୁଏ she could start ସେ ଗୋଟେ ସ୍କୁଲ ଷ୍ଟାର୍ଟ କରିପାରନ୍ତେ ଯଦି ଷ୍ଟାର୍ଟ କରିପାରନ୍ତେ ଭଲ ହୁଅନ୍ତା a small school for unfortunate girls dear student unfortunate fortunate means भाग्यवान unfortunate means जो पर्टिकुलर जिंस पाइबा पई भाग्य काम करने भाग्य साथ दिए नहीं आमे ताको कोन बोली कहिबा भाग्यहीन बा हतभागिनी एठी जेहेतु से झियो वी कैन कॉल इट एज हतभागिनी इट मींस भाग्यहीन तार भाग्य नहीं एजुकेशन पाइबा पई तो सेही भलिया जो अमु भलिया गर्ल्स दोस हु आर फोर्स्ड टू वर्क as a maid in different houses and they were restricted to get education. So such kinds of unfortunate girls should get education and for them she thought that she could start a schools. Okay, तो से भलिया झियोंक पई से गुटे स्कूल स्टार्ट करले भलो होंता बोली से भाबिले. See muse. Yes student there is a word muse here. So muse means what? चिंता करले. से she thought. Muse means thought. She thought about it that she could start a small schools for unfortunate girls like Ammu. Then the big house would resound with the children's laughter. तो एठी को पर्टिकुलर स्थानटी को से गोटे स्मॉल स्कूल रे परिणत करि पारले भलो होंता बोली भाबिले सेही तांको बिग हाउस जदि से बिग हाउस टी को से गोटे स्मॉल स्कूल रे कन्वर्ट कर देबे तो सेठी कोन हबो को साउंड गुंजिबो ना चिल्ड्रन्स लाफ्टर मींस कोन से छुआ मानकर जो हसर ध्वनि हास्यस्पद ध्वनि सेटा गुंजी उठिबो कोटी गुंजी उठिबो बिग हाउस रे. So dear student, it is a important particular sentence you should mark it. Resound means प्रतिध्वनित हवा. छुआ मानकर से जो हस हस शब्द गुड़ाक रे से घरटी भरी जीवो. Okay, resound with the children's laughter. Okay, so dear student, we have understood this particular slide. So note down the meaning of different particular words. Next we will move towards the next particular slide. Okay, so let's proceed to the next slide. Mrs. Mohan went to the kitchen and set aside for Ammu. Dear student, another particular phrasal verb you can find here. Another particular phrasal verb you can find here that is set aside. Okay, set aside. Normally, whenever we try to understood it, जेतेबेले आमे साधारण हिसाब रे बुझिबा को चेष्टा करिबा आमे नॉर्मली गोटे मीनिंग सिटी डिराइव कर दबा जोटा कि भूल हेई पारे माने मिसेस मोहन वेंट टू किचन मिसेस मोहन किचन को गले एंड सेट असाइड फूड फॉर अम्मू एवं अम्मू को गोटे साइड रे खाइबा देले सेहीटा नुहे अम्मू को गोटे साइड रे खाइबा देले सेंती नुहे अम्मू को खाद्य देले से जो देवार मीनिंग ता हला सेट असाइड. Here there is a very beautiful phrasal verb it is used here that is set aside. Okay, set aside को note down करिवो तार अर्थ हला give यार अर्थ हला देवा. So Mrs. Mohan कितने affectionate थिले कितने polite थिले her nature you can able to get here that Mrs. Mohan went to kitchen and set aside food for Ammu. Ammu को खाद्य देले. Ammu खाउची देखि परथुवो she is eating the food. Okay, she is eating the food. Then she ate the simple lunch she had cooked. तापरे से खाइबा ग्रहण कले जो सिंपल लंच तांकर हेइथिला she had cooked जहा भी से रांधी थिले. Have your lunch तापरे से अम्मू को कहिले have your lunch first प्रथमे तू तोर लंच टी सारी दे and then do these dishes. Here dishes refers to the utensil which अम्मू has to wash जहा को अम्मू सफा करबो पड़िबो अम्मू को सफा करबो पड़िबो माने तू प्रथमे तोर लंच ग्रहण कर दे तापरे ए जो यूटेंसिल्स गुडा को रहिला ताकू कोन कर दबु तू सफा कर दबु. Come to the drawing room after you finish. एवं तू ड्राइंग रूम को आसीबू एई सब खाद्य तू खाइ सारला परे. कितने बढ़िया affectionate nature of Mrs. Mohan you can able to get here. Dear student, in this part we have learned that set aside means give ba deba, lunch means madhyana bhojana, dishes means eti utensils ba basana, finish means shesha kariba. So after finishing her lunch Ammu has to go to the drawing room. Drawing room कोटा जोटी सोफा सेट थाए एवं जोटी बुक शेल्फ थिला मने पकाओ जोटा की अट्रैक्ट करूथिला अम्मू को as a magnet. Okay, so dear student, we have understood this particular part. आमे next part को जिबा, next slide को जिबा. Ammu was taken away. ये सब को देखी कि अमु आश्चर्य हो गला Omo was taken away by her employer's kind ways. It had been quite some time since someone had spoken kindly to her. Omo, you must go to school. Ask your father not to worry about money. Girls should also go to school. Eta me buझिबा. Omo was taken away. The student taken awake. It's interesting verb to city अछि. Taken awake. This is also a phrasal verb we can say. Taken awake means surprise. जदि जने आश्चर्य हे जाउची जणकर बिहेवियर देखिकी ट्रीटमेंट देखिकी सेठी हमें कहि परिबा taken awake. Taken awake means someone is getting surprised by the behavior, by the treatment, by the hospitality of someone. तो एठी जो मिसेस मोहन कर hospitality, she was the owner of that big house, but she treated Amu as her child. तो अमु को तार निज छुआ भलिया से ट्रीट करथिले ताकू चा देथिले मने पकाओ ताकू खाइबा देथिले मने पकाओ एवं ताकू एश्योरेंस देथिले जे अमु को से स्कूल को पठेबे तो ए सब पाई अमु वाज टेकन अवेक बाय हर एम्प्लॉयर्स काइंड जे स्टूडेंट एठी एम्प्लॉयर्स कहिले आमे द पर्सन हु इज प्रोवाइडिंग एम्प्लॉयमेंट टू द पीपल माने जीए जो इंडिविजुअल अन्य मानकु काम जोगाई थाए कार्य जोगाई थाए ताको हम एम्प्लॉयर बोली कहि परिबा तो एठी एम्प्लॉयर की ओनर की मिसेस मोहन जी की काम जोगाई चंदी काहाकू चिन्नी को सॉरी अमु को अमुर बापा को एवं तांकु पैसा पत्र दो जंदी ये सुनो तो एठी अमु निजे आश्चर्य हे गला जे तार निजर मालिकाणी जी ताकु कार्य देई चंती ते एभलिया एक्सपेक्टेशंस के भी रखि नथिला जे तांकोठू एभलिया बढ़िया चर्चा मिलियो ओके सो अमु वाज टेकन अवेक बाय हर फादर एम्प्लॉयर्स काइंड वेज डियर स्टूडेंट काइंड वेज रिफर्स टू दया भाव नम्र भाव से मिसेस मोहन कर दया भाव नम्र भाव देखिकी एठी अमु टेकन अवेक हे जाईची सरप्राइज हे जाईची विस्मित हे जाईची एम्प्लॉयर मीन्स नियुक्ति देथिबा व्यक्ति ओके नेक्स्ट It had been quite some time since someone had spoken kindly to her. एवं बहुत दिन हे जीवो एई भलिया कथा एई भलिया बहुत नम्र भावरे बहुत धीर स्थिर रे जत्नर सहित गोटे एफेक्शन देखाई जो कथा मिसेस मोहन कहिथिले सेई भलिया कथा बहुत दिन जाए से ए भलिया कथा सुनिया को पाई नथिला. It means after a long time she can able to get such kinds of kindly word, kindly a particular affectionate word and treatment she is getting here. तो सही भलिया ट्रीटमेंट पाई कि से बहुत खुशी हेउतला. तापरे ताकू पुनी मिसेस मोहन कहि जानती अम्मू यू मस्ट गो टू स्कूल. अम्मू तो निश्चित भाबरे स्कूल जीवा कथा. जे स्टूडेंट मस्ट रिफर्स टू निश्चित भाबरे यू मस्ट गो टू स्कूल. आस्क योर फादर नॉट टू वरी अबाउट मनी. और तो बापा को तू कहि दे मनी पाई से ओरी हेबेनी. जे स्टूडेंट मनी मीन्स करेंसी जोडे एटा करेंसी भी हे पारे कॉइन भी हे पारे. मनी मीन्स ए जो हमें टंका पैसा बोली कहिताऊ ताको हमें मनी बोली कहिताऊ व्हिच इज नीड टू पर्टिकुलरली पे द फी इन स्कूल जोटा कि मनी आवश्यक स्कूल रे फी पे करिया पई सेथि पई अम्मू को पठा जाउनी. बुझि पारलो. तो आस्क योर फादर नॉट टू वरी अबाउट मनी. गर्ल्स शुड आल्सो गो टू स्कूल. तो आपको कहि दे जे झियो माने मध्य स्कूल को जीवा कथा एवं तांकु तू कहि देबो जे से पैसा कथा वरी हेबेनी व्यस्त विव्रत हेबेनी. यार अर्थ हला तो से निजे पैसा पे करिवे कहार खर्च ना अमुर पाठपढ़ा खर्च पाई. Okay, so dear student, very interesting this particular story that we are going to explore to the next. Okay, so it is so interesting that we are discussing all this particular part. Next particular slide kujiba. Tell your father that I shall pay your fees. तो पापा को कहि दे that I shall pay your fees. मु तोर फी पे कर देबी. एटी के कहिले मिसेस मोहन said gently. Mrs. Mohan said gently. Gently means नम्र भावरे भद्र भावरे बहुत सरलतार सहित खुशी रे से कहिले जे मु तोर पैसा देई देबी तो आपा को तू कहि दे. ओके तो आम प्रथम गोटे यही पर्टिकुलर स्लाइड टाइम पढ़ीदबा टेल योर फादर दैट आई शेल पे योर फीस मिसेस मोहन सेड जेंटली नो नो अमू बिगन क्राइंग माय फादर will never agree. He will. I spoke to him yesterday about it. Mrs. Mohan said, weeping amongst tears. Dear student, एही स्लाइड रे आमे एया पाउचे जे मिसेस मोहन प्रथमे कहिसंती जे पैसा पाई तोर बापा ओरी हेबा कथा नुहे मु तांकर सेही ओरीनेस को दूर कर देबी केंती दूर कर देबी ना टेल योर फादर दैट आई शेल पे योर फीस मु तोर जति भी पैसा खर्च हबो अर्थ राशि देबाको हबो स्कूल फी पाई मु सेगुडा को पैठ करबी I shall pay. Pay means deba ba paitha kariba. Fee means arthrasi जोटा की school fee. Mrs. Mohan said gently. किंतु अमु एठी agree हला की dear student no. अमु एठी agree है नहीं. से कहिला no no. He exclaimed and she started crying. अमु began crying. से कांदिबा आरंभ कला. काहे की कांदिबा आरंभ कला? Because she know her father well. से ता बापा को भलो के जानी थी माय फादर विल नेवर एग्री एवं से कहि चलला मो बापा एठी एई पर्टिकुलर सजेशन रे एई पर्टिकुलर मंतव्य रे से राजी हेबे नि माय फादर विल नेवर एग्री मो बापा केबे मध्य राजी हेबे नाही नेवर मींस केबे मध्य राजी हेबे नाही एग्री मींस राजी हेबा मो बापा केबे मध्य राजी हेबे नाही ए कथा सुनी पुणी मिसेस मोहन ताकू सांत्वना दैछंती कोन सांत्वना दैछंती ही विल से मानिवे I spoke to him yesterday. मु already गतकाली तो बापांको सहित कथा हेई सारिची about it एही विषय रे Mrs. Mohan said Mrs. Mohan कहिले and weeping amongst tears एवं अमुर जो लुह झरी आस्तला से लुह को से पुछिया को लागिले the student you just see the affection of Mrs. Mohan towards Amu very nice yes or no yes Mrs. Mohan said weeping amongst tears एठी dear student weeping रो अर्थ हला पोछि देबा तो से अमुर जो लुह झरुथला से लुह को से पोछिले एवं से कहिले जे तो बापा सहित मु ऑलरेडी कथा ही सारिछि से राजी हेबे ही विल एते बढ़िया तो एई पर्टिकुलर स्लाइड रे हमें किछि वर्ड सिखिले पे मींस देबा फीस मींस अर्थराशि जेंटली मींस नम्र भाबरे वीपिंग मींस pochi dei. Okay, so dear student, in this particular part, we have come to know about the helping nature of Mrs. Mohan towards Ammu, that Ammu must go to school. Next part रे पुनी कौन हला, next particular slide रे पुनी कौन हला में देखिबा. Ammu पुनी किछि क्वेश्चन पचारि छी. Total slide तो पढ़ी देबा प्रथमे, but then who will work for you? Who will cook for my father and brother? Ammu asked furiously. Then I have another plan. I am retired headmistress. I shall teach you every day. Dear student, एठी Mrs. Mohan कर एवं अम्मुर conversations हमें देखिबा. जेते बेले मिसेस मोहन कहिले जे तो बापा सहित मु ऑलरेडी गतकाली कथा ही सारिछि से राजी हेबे तो स्कूल को पठेबा पई अम्मु एठी आग्रह प्रकाश करिनी काहे कि ना तार मध्य गोटे रेस्पोंसिबिलिटी अछि कहा पई से एबे जेहेतु अटैच हे गलानी ता बापा ता भाईर जत्न नबार सहित मिसेस मोहन कर जत्न नबा तो से कहि चलला बट देन हु विल वर्क फॉर यू ताहेले तो पई काम किए करिवो हु विल कुक फॉर माय फादर एंड ब्रदर मो बापा एवं भाई को पई किए खाद्य रांधिबो किए खाद्य रोषेई करिवो कुक मींस रोषेई करिवा बट देन हु विल वर्क फॉर यू मिसेस मोहन को से कहिला ताहेले आपन को पई किए काम करिवो हु विल कुक फॉर माय फादर एंड ब्रदर मो बापा एवं भाई पई किए खाद्य रोषेई करिवो अमु आस्क्ड सीरियसली आंतरिक भावरे सते जंती तार मुंडरे समस्तंक पई चिंता रहिछि ए समस्तंक पई तार गोटे रेस्पोंसिबिलिटी ए समस्तंक पई जो जत्न तार नेबार इच्छा एठी हमें रिफ्लेक्ट करूछि एठी हमें देखुछि अमु आस्क्ड सीरियसली आंतरिक भावरे से कहिला माने मु बापा भाई को पई खाद्य की रांधिबो आपन को पई काम की करिवो ए सब से कहिला देन आई हैव अनदर प्लान तापर मिसेस मोहन ता कथा सुनी कहिले ताहेले मो पाखरे आ गोटे प्लान अछि I am a retired headmistress. ମୁଁ ଜଣେ retired headmistress. Retired headmistress means retired means ଅବସର ପ୍ରାପ୍ତ. After completing a certain year prescribed by government, a person has to retire from his office. ଯେମିତି ଆଜିକା ଡେଟରେ 58 to 60 years. କୋଉ job ରେ 58 years, କୋଉ job ରେ 60 years. This is the retirement age, dear student. A person has to retire from his office. ତାକୁ ତାଙ୍କ ଅଫିସ ରୁ ରିଟାୟାର୍ଡ ହେବାକୁ ପଡିବ. ବୁଝିପାରିଲ? ତ ଅଲରେଡି ମିସେସ୍ ମୋହନ ସେ କଣ ଥିଲେ? ସେ ଥିଲେ ଜଣେ ହେଡମିଷ୍ଟ୍ରେସ୍, ପ୍ରଧାନ ଶିକ୍ଷୟିତ୍ରୀ ଥିଲେ. ହେଲା, ଆମେ ଯୋଉ ଭଳିଆ ସ୍କୁଲ ରେ ପଢୁଛେ ସେ ଭଳିଆ ଗୋଟେ ସ୍କୁଲ ର ସେ ଗୋଟେ ଥିଲେ ପ୍ରଧାନ ଶିକ୍ଷୟିତ୍ରୀ ଏବଂ ସେ ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ରିଟାୟାର୍ଡ କରି ସାରିଲେଣି, ଅବସର ନେଇ ସାରିଲେଣି. ତ ସେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି I am a retired headmistress. I shall teach you every day. It means ମୁଁ ଗୋଟେ ଶିକ୍ଷୟିତ୍ରୀ ଥିଲି ଏବଂ ତତେ ମୁଁ ପଢେଇବି, ପ୍ରତ୍ୟେକ ଦିନ ପଢେଇବି. ଏଇ ପ୍ଲାନ ଟା ମୋ ପାଖରେ ଗୋଟେ ଅଛି. ଦେଖିବା ଏଇ ପ୍ଲାନ ରେ ଅମୁ ରାଜି ହେଲା ନା ନାଇଁ. କାହିଁକି ନା ପ୍ରିଭିୟସ ଯୋଉ ପ୍ଲାନ ଟା ଥିଲା ମିସେସ୍ ମୋହନଙ୍କର, ଅମୁ ତାକୁ ଭଲ ଲାଗିନଥିଲା. କାହିଁକି ନା ସ୍କୁଲ କୁ ଗଲେ ସେ ତା ବାପାଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ ତା ଭାଇଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ ଖାଇବା କିଏ ରାନ୍ଧିବ, ପୁଣି ମିସେସ୍ ମୋହନଙ୍କର ଯତ୍ନ କିଏ ନେବ, ତାଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ କାମ କିଏ କରିବ, ଏସବୁ ବିଷୟରେ ସେ ଭାବିଥିଲା. For that reason, that particular plan, it was rejected by Amu. But what about the second plan? So let's proceed. So here, dear student, seriously means antariko bhavare, retired means avasara prapta, headmistress means pradhan sikhyatri. Next, you come here after finishing your chores, and I shall teach you as long as you want. Tu ତୋର ସବୁ କାମ ସାରି ଏଠିକୁ ଆସେ, ତୁ ଆସିବୁ. ୟୁ କମ୍ ହିୟର, ତୁ ସବୁଦିନ ମାନେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଚାହିଁବୁ ତୋର କାମ ସାରିଲା ପରେ ତୁ ଆସିବୁ. I shall teach you as long as you want. ଏବଂ ତୁ ଯେତେ ସମୟ ଚାହିଁବୁ ତତେ ମୁଁ ପାଠ ପଢେଇବି. କେତେ ବଢିଆ. ମିସେସ୍ ମୋହନ willing to teach her. How do you like that? କହିଲେ ଏ ବିଷୟରେ ତୁ କଣ କହୁଛୁ, ତତେ ପସନ୍ଦ ଲାଗୁଛି? ମିସେସ୍ ମୋହନ asked. ଅମୁ ଏଠି ଆନ୍ସର ଦେଲା ଫାଇନ୍. ତାହେଲେ ଭଲ ଅଛି ତ? ଅମୁ's eye shone. Dear student, shine ରୁ ଏଠି shone ହେଇଛି. Shine means ଚମକି ଉଠିବା, ଏଠି shone means ଚମକିଲା. ତାର ଆଖିରେ ଗୋଟେ ଉଜ୍ଜଳ particular reflect ହେଲା, ମାନେ ଖୁସିରେ ସେ ବିଭୋର ହେଇଗଲା. ତାର ଆଖିରେ ଗୋଟେ ଚମକିଲା ଯୋଉ ଭାବ, ଯୋଉ ଖୁସିର ଯୋଉ ଭାବ reflect ହେଲା. ଅମୁ's eyes shone. Okay, dear student, ଏଠି କଣ ହେଲା? Amu's eyes shone. Well, shall we begin today itself? ଅମୁର ଆଗ୍ରହ ଦେଖ. She begged. Dear student, begged means ସେ ବିନୟ ଅନୁରୋଧ କଲା. She requested to Mrs. Mohan. Why it is for tomorrow? Let's begin it for today. ସେ କହିଲା କାଲି ନୁହେଁ ଆମେ ଆଜିଠୁ ହିଁ ଷ୍ଟାର୍ଟ କରିପାରିବା କି? Well, shall we begin today itself? ଅମୁର ଦେଖ interest to get education. So dear student, those who are sitting in the class and watching me, you also should have that particular eagerness to learn education. Because education, those who are not getting, they know the importance of education. And whenever we are getting the education, a lot of government, a lot of programs, a lot of particular benefits government is providing to us. Why not? We should utilize all those particular opportunities and make our life meaningful in the future. So dear student, those who are listening to me, you must have the curiosity to get education, to learn education, and to be a good human being in the future. Because it is education only can change your life, can change this particular society, can change this particular world and make this world a better place to live in. Okay, dear student, ଏଠି ଦେଖିବା ଯେ ମିସେସ୍ ମୋହନଙ୍କର ପ୍ରସ୍ତାବ ଉପରେ ଅମୁ ରାଜି ହେଇଗଲା. ସେ କହିଲା ଫାଇନ୍. ଅମୁ's eyes shone. Well, shall we begin today itself? ସେ କହିଲା ଆଜି ଆମେ ଷ୍ଟାର୍ଟ କରିବା କି? ଓକେ, ତ ଏଠି ମିସେସ୍ ମୋହନ ରାଜି ହେଲେ ନାହିଁ ଦେଖିବା. Of course, ସେ କହିଲେ of course, ନିଶ୍ଚିତ ଭାବରେ, ଅବଶ୍ୟ. Mrs. Mohan laughed and began with the alphabet. An hour later, Amu went home in a happy daze. She had taken the first steps towards her goal. Dear student, एठी देखो कितने बढ़िया अमु पाई गोटे opportunity मिलला एवं जहार फायदा कि उठेला अमु उठेला एवं जहार particularly utilizations अमु एठी कला. से मिसेस मोहन को रिक्वेस्ट कला जे आज ही आमे पाठ आरंभ करिवा एवं मिसेस मोहन कहिले ऑफ कोर्स अवश्य अवश्य आज आमे आरंभ करिवा मिसेस मोहन लाफ से हसियाको लागिले एंड बिगन विथ द अल्फाबेट ताकू को जिंस पाठ पढेवा स्टार्ट कले ताकू अल्फाबेट पढेवा स्टार्ट कले डियर स्टूडेंट इन डिफरेंट लैंग्वेज वी आर लर्निंग अल्फाबेट्स alphabet is the root of all language. Root of all language means what? Whenever we are making a word, we are combining the alphabets and we are framing a word. Whenever we are making a sentence, we are combining different words and after that we are making a sentence. So the base is the alphabets. We must learn alphabets to learn everything. हमको प्रत्येक जिंस सिखिबा गरु प्रथमे कोन सिखिथिले आमे कोन सिखिबा जरूरी ना सेटा हला अल्फाबेट्स जेंति इंग्लिश रे ए बी सी डी अप टू जेड these are alphabets सेमिति ओडिया रे और टू क्ष पर्यंत alphabets ताकू पुणी हमें कंबाइन करिके डिफरेंट वर्ड्स करिथौ वर्ड्स को कंबाइन करिके हमें सेंटेंस करिथौ तो डियर स्टूडेंट अल्फाबेट सिखिबा रो प्रथम जो सोपान एटी स्टार्ट कला कि अम्मू अम्मू स्टार्ट लर्निंग अल्फाबेट्स फ्रॉम मिसेस मोहन सो मिसेस मोहन बिगिन विथ द अल्फाबेट को थ्रू से पाठ पढिबा स्टार्ट कला एटा क्वेश्चन आसे एन आवर लेटर गोटे घंटा धरी की ताकू पाठ पढ़ा गला मिसेस मोहन को द्वारा अमु वेंट होम इन अ हैप्पी डेज एवं तापरे अमु घर को पळेला खुशी खुशी रे से घर को पळेला बहुत खुशी से थिला ओके शी हैड टेकन द फर्स्ट स्टेप टुवर्ड्स हर गोल तो एठी हमें चैप्टर टाकू एंड करूची दिस इज द लास्ट पार्ट पर्टिकुलर ऑफ द स्टोरी एटा थिला लास्ट पार्ट ऑफ दिस पर्टिकुलर स्टोरी तो हमें देखिले जे जो पर्टिकुलर एम रखिथिला अम्मू जे ताकू मध्य पढिबार अछि ता भाई चिन्नी भलिया तार से एम था वर्तमान फुलफिल हला कहा द्वारा मिसेस मोहन को द्वारा ऑल्दो सी कैन नॉट एबल टू गो टू स्कूल बट इन मिसेस मोहन हाउस ओनली इन दैट बिग हाउस ओनली शी कैन एबल टू गेट द एजुकेशन फ्रॉम मिसेस मोहन से मिसेस मोहन को ठारू ही से बिग हाउस रे समस्तंकर जत्न नै कि मिसेस मोहन को सब काम करी कि ता बापा भाई जत्न नहीं कि रांधी रोसई सब करी से पढ़ी पारिबो तो या खुशी ठु आउ बड़ खुशी कौन हे पारे अम्मू पाए सो सी हैड टेकन द फर्स्ट स्टेप टुवर्ड्स हर गोल तो सेही दिन ठारू से तार जीवन रो प्रथम से जो स्टेप टुवर्ड्स एजुकेशन से फुलफिल करथिला सो दिस इज द फर्स्ट स्टेप डियर स्टूडेंट दैट अम्मू हैज फुलफिल इट इज फर्स्ट स्टेप कोन ना से बिगिन विथ द अल्फाबेट in that particular day सही डे रे सही दिन रे से अल्फाबेट्स रो ही तार पाठ पढिबा आरंभ करथिला जोडा थिला फर्स्ट स्टेप्स ऑफ अम्मू टुवर्ड्स हर गोल टू गेट एजुकेशन टू हैव एजुकेशन सो डियर स्टूडेंट सच लाइक मीनी a lot of girls are there in our country those who are deprived of education and they are working as a maid in different particular houses they are moving here and there they are begging you can able to find in the bus stand in the railway station and they are not getting education and in future what they will do their life will spoil so children like Ammu a lot are there in our country so we must spread awareness that every child whether it may be a boy or girl should get education okay so dear student with this we have completed this particular lesson so we will summarize the particular story right now हमें कौन पढ़ले ताको हमें summarize करिवा तापरे question answer part को जीवा so let's summarize the particular story this is dear student the summary of the story part 3 Mrs. Mohan realized the cause of Ammu's unhappiness and thought of starting a school for unfortunate girls Mrs. Mohan realized कले the cause of Ammu's happiness unhappiness अम्मू कोथि पय दुख रे अछि तार कारण से रियलाइज कले एवं थॉट ऑफ स्टार्टिंग अ स्कूल फॉर अनफॉर्चुनेट गर्ल्स सेही भलिया अनफॉर्चुनेट गर्ल्स को पय से गोटे स्कूल आरंभ करते कि सेही भलिया गोटे भावना से भाबिले सी आस्क्ड अम्मू टू हेल्प लर्न फर्स्ट अम्मू को से लॉन्च करिया पे कहले प्रथमे एंड देन डू द डिशेस या डिशेस मींस यूटेंसिल्स गुडा को सफा करिया पे तापरे ताकू कहले अम्मू वाज ग्रेटली मूव बाय हर एम्प्लॉयर्स काइंडनेस ए सबु देखिकी अम्मू बहुत आश्चर्यजनित हेइतला विस्मित हेइतला ए एम्प्लॉयर्स करो दयापण पाई मिसेस मोहन टोल्ड अम्मू दैट शी वुड हेल्प हर गो टू स्कूल मिसेस मोहन कहिथिले जे मु तते हेल्प करबी स्कूल जीवा पाई व्हेन शी सेड that her father would not agree, Mrs. Mohan told her that she had already spoken to him. ଯେତେବେଳେ ସେ କହିଲା ମୋ ବାପା ଏଥିରେ ରାଜି ହେବେନି, ମିସେସ ମୋହନ କହିଲେ ମୁଁ ଅଲରେଡି କଥା ହେଇସାରିଛି ତୋ ବାପା ସହିତ, ସେ ରାଜି ହେଇଯିବେ. And she wept Amu's tears. ଏବଂ ସେହି ସମୟରେ ସେ କ'ଣ କରିଥିଲେ? ଅମୁର ଲୁହ ପୋଛିଥିଲେ. When Amu told her that she had to do a lot of works at home, Mrs. Mohan said she would teach her as long as she wanted. ଯେତେବେଳେ ଅମୁ ପୁଣି କହିଥିଲା ମତେ ତ ବହୁତ ଗୁଡେ କାମ କରିବାର ଅଛି, ବାପା ପାଇଁ ଭାଇ ପାଇଁ ରୋଷେଇ କରିବାର ଅଛି, ପୁଣି ଆପଣଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ କାମ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ଅଛି, ଯେତେବେଳେ ଏସବୁ କଥା କହିଥିଲା ମିସେସ୍ ମୋହନ କହିଥିଲେ ତାହେଲେ ତୋତେ ମୁଁ ଏଇ ବିଗ୍ ହାଉସ ରେ ହିଁ ପାଠ ପଢେଇବି. Just then ସେହି ସମୟରେ ହିଁ she began with the alphabet. ତାକୁ alphabet ପଢେଇବା start କରିଥିଲେ. An hour later Amu went home overwhelmed by it. ଏବଂ ସେ ବହୁତ ଖୁସିର ସହିତ happy days ରେ ସେ ତାର ଘରକୁ ଫେରି ଯାଇଥିଲା. So dear student, this is all about today's lesson. Let's proceed towards the evaluation part. I'm going to check your understanding regarding today's topic up to what you have get. So let's explore the various questions that I have here. So dear student from different school right now, you can participate by clicking the raise hand options on your smart board. You can draw our attentions. I'm going to ask you, and whoever want to participate, you can participate. So dear student, question number 1. Mrs. Mohan had to get through to Amu somehow. The underlined phrasal verb means it underlined phrasal verb get through the अर्थ मु कौन कहिथिली? Succeed in speaking to somebody, succeed in making somebody understand something, manage to complete something difficult, reach someone. को particular meaning ता मु तुमको कहिथिली मने पका. इठी get through रो अर्थ कौन है पारे? What is the appropriate answer that you are getting here? Yes, student, you can answer. Student from different school, you can answer right now. Take your mic from your smart board and you can answer to the question that Mrs. Mohan had to get through Amu somehow. The underlined phrasal verb means that. ये जो phrasal verb get through रो अर्थ कौन? Your students try to answer me that what is the meaning of the term, what is the meaning of the phrasal verb get through in this particular statement. Dear student, the meaning of this particular phrasal verb is succeed in making somebody understand something. ମୁଁ ତୁମକୁ କହିଥିଲି ଜଣଙ୍କୁ ବୁଝେଇବାରେ ସଫଳ ହେବା ବା ସକ୍ଷମ ହେବା to get through ବୋଲି ଆମେ meaning ଲେଖିଥିଲେ ଓଡ଼ିଆରେ, ମନେ ପକା. ଜଣଙ୍କୁ ଆମେ ବୁଝେଇବାରେ ସକ୍ଷମ ହେବା ବା ସଫଳ ହେବା ତ ଆମେ get through ଲେଖିଥିଲେ. ତ ୟାର meaning କୋଉଟା ଆସି ଯାଉଛି? Option number B. Option number B. So option number B will be the correct answer. Succeed in making somebody understand something. Next question jiba jota ki bahut easy question. So student from different school, you just raise your hand because I need your participation. The big house would resound with text. Children's laughter, Mrs. Mohan laughter, Amu's laughter, Chilappa's laughter. Kaharo
Option
hasare.
A, children's laughter.
Very good. Option A. That is the correct response. So children's
Option
laughter.
C.
ଛୁଆ ମାନଙ୍କର ହସରେ ସେଇ big house ଟି ଗୁଞ୍ଜି ଉଠିବ. Next question କୁ ଆମେ ଯିବା. The new owner of the house was the former owner's desk. ମୁଁ ଗଲା କ୍ଲାସ ରେ ଗତ ଥର କ୍ଲାସ ରେ ମୁଁ ସେ ଯୋଉ ବ୍ଲଡ ରିଲେସନସିପ ର କଥା କିଛି କହିଥିଲି. ମିସେସ୍ ମୋହନ ସେଇ ଯୋଉ ଓଲ୍ଡ ଓନରଙ୍କର କଣ ଲାଗିବେ? ଏଠି आंसर दिया. The new owner जोड़ा कि Mrs. Mohan of the house was the
Option D. Option D.
D. You are
Option D, sister.
No, dear student, no. Just have a look towards the part 2 of that particular lesson. Part 2 ର ପ୍ରଥମକୁ ଟିକେ ଦେଖି ଦିଅ.
Option B. Option D.
Option D, no. I told no. Option D, it is
Option
incorrect.
D.
Option C.
Option C. Which school you told option C? I want to know. Student from which school?
Vidut Colony High School.
Yes, your answer is correct right now. Option C will be the correct answer because that new owner of the house, that is Mrs. Mohan, is the sister's daughter of the old owner of the house, जो पुराना मालिक थिले तांकर भौणीर झियो ये थिले. भौणीर झियो मीन्स कोन? भाणीजी. भाणीजीर इंग्लिश कोन डियर स्टूडेंट? नाइस. तो एई जो आंसर सी हे जो यार आंसर सी होचंती तांकर सिस्टरंकर झियो. मने पका सिस्टर्स डॉटर. ओके, सो हिति पई नाइस हे जो आंसर. सो यू हैव करेक्टली आंसर. नेक्स्ट जीवा क्वेश्चन नंबर 4. When Mrs. Mohan offered to send Ammu to school, she said she would not. से जीवा नहीं. काहे कि से जीवा नहीं? Because her father would not agree. ता बापा राजी हेबे नहीं. She would not be able to work for her. से तांको पाई मध्य काम करि परिबो नाही. माने मिसेस मोहन को पाई मध्य काम करि परिबो नाही. She would not able to cook for her father and brother. जब से स्कूल जीवो ता बापा पाई ता भाई पाई मध्य रांधि परिबो नाही. ये ऑप्शन हबो ना ऑल द अबव हबो? ए सबु ऑप्शन पाई से जीवन नाही स्कूल बोली से मना कला. को है आंसर?
Option A.
Very
Her
interesting.
father agree.
Her father would not agree. Yes, it is also correct. It is also correct. Next, any other student you should try?
Option A.
Option A also it is correct. Partially this is correct. Option B also you should read.
All
She's
the
not able
above.
to-
Option D.
Yes. The answer will be all the above because she has cited all these particular problems. She has cited all these problems. से मिसेस मोहन को ये सबु कथा कहितला एवं ये सबु कथा पाई मु स्कूल को जाई पारिबि नाही बोली से कहितला. सेति पाई मिसेस मोहन को तांकर 2 नंबर प्लान भाइबा को पडितला. मने पका. Very good, you have answered it. That is option number D, that is all the above. Very good. Next question, Jiva. What did Mrs. Mohan muse? It means think carefully. She could educate Ammu. She could start a school for unfortunate girls like Ammu. She could send Ammu to school with Chinni. She had to get through to Ammu somehow. This is a very difficult
Option
question.
A. Option C. Option C.
Option
Option A.
C.
Option B.
Option C. Option
Option C.
A. Still, I have not get the answer.
Option B.
yet. Still, I have not got the answer.
Option B.
No.
Option B. Option C. Option
A
C.
already told, C already told, D already told. It is all rejected. So which option it is left?
D.
B.
Option D.
B for ball. B for ball. Yes. Option B it is left. So she could start a school for unfortunate girls like Ammu. Dear student, देखो ये जो सेंटेंस ता लिखा है वो बुक रे एवं ता परे लिखा है वो सी म्यूज बुझी पारलो. शी कुड स्टार्ट ए स्कूल फॉर अनफॉर्चुनेट गर्ल्स लाइक अम्मू ता परे लिखा है वो सी म्यूज बोली केना. तो एई पर्टिकुलर सेंटेंस टी हेबो यार करेक्ट रेस्पॉन्स. तो यार आंसर कोन हेगला? शी कुड स्टार्ट ए स्कूल फॉर अनफॉर्चुनेट गर्ल्स लाइक अम्मू. से भाबिया को लागिले थिंक केयरफुली कोले जो अम्मू भलिया झियो मानन को पाई मु गोटे स्कूल खोली पारंती की. तो स्कूल खोली पारले से माने पाठ पढ़ी पारंते एवं भलो होंता. नेक्स्ट जीवा क्वेश्चन नंबर 6 को. मिसेस मोहन वेंट टू द किचन एंड सेट असाइड फूड फॉर डेक्स. वेरी इजी क्वेश्चन. चेलप्पा पाई, अम्मू पाई, चिन्नी पाई एवं तांकर झियो पाई कहा पाई से फूड असाइड करथिले, फूड बाहर करके देइथिले.
Option B.
Option B. It is absolutely correct answer. Okay, very good dear. Have you seen? Next question, Jiva. Mrs. Mohan assured Ammu to send her to school, to pay her school fee, to relieve her of the job, to send her back to home. एटी को आंसर एप्रोप्रिएट होबो. मिसेस मोहन एसुर करथिले अम्मू को निश्चित करथिले जे ताकू स्कूल पठेबे, तार स्कूल फी देबे, ताकू तार कामरु रिलीफ करेबे, मुक्ति देबे, टू सेंड हर बैक टू होम ताकू घर को पठेबे. को आंसर करेक्ट होबो? Answer it. Oh, these idiots, student. Mrs. Mohan assured
Option A.
Ammu.
Option A.
Option A. ताकू से सजेस्ट करथिले you must go to school बोली कहिथिले किंतु you must go to school बोली कहिथिले. But which is the appropriate answer, dear student? This is not the correct response. Try another time.
Option D. Option D.
Option D. Option D also not. D or B you are telling? You are
Option
telling D or B?
Option
Option
B.
C.
Option B.
Option B.
Yes.
Option B.
Option. Yes.
Option B. Option B.
Yes, option B will be correct. To pay her school fee. ताकू एश्योर करथिले जे मु तोर स्कूल फी देई देबी तो बापा को कहि देबो से चिंता करबेनी पैसा पई एटा एश्योरेंस देइथिले बुझिलो ता बापा को से एश्योरेंस ता बापा को से कहिथिले जे तो बापा को तू कहि देबो जे तोर जहां भी खर्च होबो मु देबी टू पे हर स्कूल फी दिस पर्टिकुलर एश्योरेंस शी हैज गिवन टू अम्मू ए एश्योरेंस ता से देइथिले हला बुझिलो नेक्स्ट जिबा हाउ डिड मिसेस मोहन बिगिन टीचिंग अम्मू से कोन पढेबारु स्टार्ट करथिले she began with the alphabet with the utterance word she
Option
began
B.
with the alphabet. Very good, yes,
Option B.
your answer is correct.
Option B.
Yes,
Option B.
very good, very good. Have your seat dear. Next, how did a question rahila? Ammu went home in a dex after starting her study. Se kibhali bhabare jaitila happy days, cheering mood, on happy days, sorrowful mood. Dear student, एठी जो particular term टी व्यवहार हेची बुक रे से term टी को तुमको एठी खोजिबार अछि happy days ना cheering mood ना unhappy days ना sorrowful mood को ऑप्शन टी
Happy days.
very good
Happy days. Option A.
yes student from Jairam High School I think have your seat dear very nice next diva Ammu had taken the first step towards her goal Ammu किभଳି भाबरे तार जो जीवन रो जो गोल थिला एजुकेशन पाइब सही गोल टी को से किभଳି भाबरे तार जो प्रथम सोपान थिला प्रथम स्टेप किभଳି भाबरे से स्टार्ट करथिला हियर द फर्स्ट स्टेप रिफर्स टू द एक्शन ऑफ पुटिंग वन फुट एंड पुटिंग इट डाउन इन अ डिफरेंट प्लेस
Option C. Begin. Option C. Option
very
C.
good excellent dear your answer is correct C particularly will be the correct option and beginning to learn the alphabet this is the correct response that you have answered very nicely so I got the answer Ammu has taken the first step towards her goal by beginning to learn the alphabet se alphabet learn करके से दिन मिसेस मोहन कोठू तार जो first step थिला सेटा से start करथिला that's why the name of the chapter it is suggested at first step so dear student we have completed this particular chapter completely okay so if you have more doubt regarding this particular chapter, you can consult to your concerned teachers present in the school. I hope every particular part of this particular story that you have understood. So right now, this is the time to provide you the homework. So these are the homework that I have taken from your text that you need to solve it and you need to consult your concerned teachers. You can show the answer to this particular question to your concerned teachers. So dear student, we have completed this particular chapter. We come to know the value of education, that every child, whether it may be a boy or a girl, should get education. And girls also should treat like a boy. They also as equal as boys. And girls and boys, these are the two pillars of our society. So when these two pillars will be strong, our society will be strong. So both combinedly can foster the development of our nation. So we must focus upon these two gender. Okay, we should not do the biasness. We should not behind the stereotypical thinking of the society that girls should not get education. This should not be. This should not be. Now we must provide our girl child to have education, and let's start a new era where every child will get the education, whether it may be a boy or a girl. So dear student, thank you very much. Today we have learned this particular chapter very nicely. So you have also answered very nicely. So we will meet again. So thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day.